Picture this. You're watching The Tonight Show, and Johnny Carson is doing what he does best, making America laugh. But suddenly the atmosphere shifts. A guest crosses a line so unforgivable that the king of late night decides they will never ever set foot in his studio again. What you're about to discover will shock you because these weren't just casual disagreements or minor mishaps. These were career-ending moments that happened right there on live television. Moments so intense that Johnny Carson, the man who could charm his way out of any situation, said enough is enough. Tonight you'll witness the exact moments when six major celebrities destroyed their relationships with the most powerful man in entertainment forever. And trust me, some of these stories will leave you speechless. Let's start with what might be the most terrifying encounter in Tonight Show history. Wayne Newton, yes, that Wayne Newton, showed up at NBC Studios in 1980 with violence on his mind. Carson had been making jokes about Newton's appearance, particularly his hair, saying Las Vegas needed brighter stage lights because Wayne Newton's hair needed photosynthesis. The audience loved it, but Newton was seething. He had just invested millions into purchasing the Aladdin Hotel, and every joke felt like a personal attack on his empire. But what Newton did next was absolutely insane. Security cameras captured him storming through NBC's corridors, his silk shirt unbuttoned, fists clenched, looking like a man possessed. He burst into Carson's office while the show was taping and delivered a threat that would end his career forever. He looked Johnny dead in the eyes and snarled, "These jokes stop now, or I will kick your ass." Can you imagine the shock? Johnny Carson, America's beloved host, being physically threatened in his own studio. Carson didn't hesitate. Security was called immediately, and Wayne Newton was banned for life. Memos with Newton's photograph were circulated throughout NBC with explicit instructions. Johnny made it crystal clear to his associates, "Nobody, absolutely nobody intimidates me in my own studio." Physical intimidation meant forfeiting Tonight Show privileges forever. But that's just the beginning of our story. The second ban was perhaps the most publicly humiliating moment in television history. Uri Geller walked onto that stage in 1973 radiating confidence, promising to bend minds and maybe even some metal. This was the height of his fame, and millions were watching, expecting to see impossible feats of supernatural power. Carson, however, had done something brilliant. He had consulted with magician James Randi beforehand and ensured that all props were supplied by the show, not Geller. What happened next was television gold and career suicide rolled into one. Geller pressed sealed envelopes to his forehead, trying to identify hidden drawings. His eyes shut tight, sweat beginning to form, and then came the words that destroyed his credibility. "I feel drained," he mumbled weakly. The audience's excitement turned to uncomfortable silence. Carson presented a spoon for bending. Nothing happened. Absolutely nothing. Geller grew more flustered by the second, stammering excuses about studio conditions, hostile energy, even lunar phases affecting his powers. Carson remained perfectly courteous but delivered a line that became legendary. "We'll give you as much time as you need in the next life." The audience erupted, and Geller's face turned crimson with humiliation. After the show, Carson delivered his verdict. "No return invitation will ever be issued. I won't provide another platform for deception." The great Uri Geller had been exposed on the biggest stage in America, and there was no coming back from that. But wait until you hear about guest number 3, because this ban happened over just one sentence that destroyed a career instantly. Chevy Chase thought he was untouchable. Fresh off Saturday Night Live's success, he sat in Carson's guest chair and made a comment so arrogant, so insulting, that Johnny's famous smile vanished completely. Chase had the audacity to suggest that hosting The Tonight Show didn't look that difficult and that he could probably do Carson's job better. The exact moment those words left his mouth, you could see Carson's expression change. His pencil started tapping rhythmically against his desk, a sure sign that he was mentally writing Chase's name on his permanent blacklist. After the taping ended, Johnny exploded at his executive producer. 15 years building this institution, and some kid thinks he deserves my position. He's finished here." The ban took immediate effect, and Hollywood learned fast that mocking Carson meant permanent banishment. Chevy's agents couldn't get return calls, and when Chase launched his own Fox late-night show in 1993, reporters asked if Carson would offer advice. Chase admitted he never heard from Johnny. Behind the scenes, Carson's team confirmed zero communication, only meaningful silence. 5 chaotic weeks later, the Chevy Chase show flopped spectacularly, and Tonight Show veterans shared knowing smiles. The fourth band might surprise you because it involves someone you'd think was untouchable in Hollywood. Bob Hope was television royalty, NBC's golden boy, who brought in millions in advertising revenue. But his reliance on index cards and scripted responses clashed horribly with Carson's improvised genius. During a 1978 appearance, Hope arrived with thick packets of pre-written jokes, completely ignoring Johnny to read from his cards. When Carson tried spontaneous follow-ups, Hope would pause to consult his notes before delivering predetermined punchlines. The breaking point came when Hope mentioned Texaco 3 times in 7 minutes, turning The Tonight Show into his personal commercial slot. Carson's knuckles whitened with rage as he warned producers that Texaco was getting more screen time than he was. He campaigned personally for Hope's permanent removal, arguing that Hope wasn't performing television, he was reciting commercials with canned laughter. When Carson threatened to walk, NBC quietly relented. Hope never got official notice. His bookings just mysteriously dried up forever. Guest number 5 will blow your mind because even Oscar winners weren't safe from Carson's judgment. Charlton Heston treated every Tonight Show appearance like a college lecture. When Carson asked about injuries during chariot scenes, Heston would launch into childhood ranch stories, Yale theater training, and Greek tragedy discussions, finally reaching the broken rib anecdote 5 minutes later. During commercial breaks, he'd offer footnotes about Plutarch in the NRA Museum. After a 1987 episode where his movie discussion became a 15-minute dissertation on freedom, Carson told producers he's operating his own program within mine, and it's not entertaining. Ratings plummeted whenever Heston's speeches exceeded 60 seconds. The ban was immediate and permanent, but the most heartbreaking ban of all involves someone you'd never expect, someone so pure and kind that his banishment seems almost cruel. Fred Rogers seemed like the perfect guest, kind, gentle, completely safe for television. But the moment Rogers stepped onto Carson's stage, his deliberate Pittsburgh cadence brought the show to a grinding halt. After his measured greeting, the applause lingered awkwardly because nobody knew if he had finished speaking. Carson tried breaking the ice by showing off sneakers he wore in Rogers' honor, but even compliments moved at a glacial pace in Rogers' gentle hands. Every planned comedic beat shifted 30 seconds off script. The control room scrambled desperately as the show unraveled in real time. When commercial break finally hit, Carson exhaled so hard he fogged his desk lamp. Post-broadcast ratings confirmed the disaster. Audience numbers dropped 3 points during Rogers' segment. That night, Carson made a painful decision. Fred Rogers embodies saintliness, but saints don't thrive in late-night television. These weren't personal vendettas or petty disagreements. These were calculated business decisions by a man who understood that protecting his show's quality meant making impossible choices. In Hollywood, the message rang crystal clear. The Tonight Show upheld standards, and anyone who violated them faced permanent exile from television's most prestigious stage. That was Johnny Carson's hidden art of hosting, knowing exactly when entertainment turns to destruction and having the absolute strength to say never again.